In this tutorial, we're going to take a second and deeper look at the subtractive analog filter. We'll be using voltage modular nucleus from Cherry Audio, and starting with the CM filter patch we made last time around. If you were here for last month's tutorial, you may recall our final experiment was plumbing a sine wave through our filter, revealing that the latter had very little effect on the former. In our patch, a single oscillator is pushing a sine wave into the filter module, and the low-pass output is routed to the amplifier. The amplifier is routed to both the main outs and an oscilloscope. The amplifier's gain is being modulated by an envelope generator, which is receiving gates from our CV sources. Let's add another oscillator module. Many classic synthesizers offered dual oscillators for a fatter sound, and it will give our filter a bit more to chew on. Let's run a cable from the pitch output of our CV sources panel down to the new oscillator's pitch CV, just as we did with that first oscillator. That lone sine wave isn't doing much good, so let's disconnect it from the filter's audio in. Instead, we'll run a cable from the first oscillator's ramp output over to the audio in. Next, we'll route a cable from the second oscillator's square wave over to the filter's audio in as well. We'll crank the filter's cutoff knob fully clockwise and then play and hold a note. It's not terrifically complex, but it has a bit more to offer than the single waveform from each oscillator alone. We'll set the range of one of our oscillators to 32 feet. Currently, the envelope generator is acting as little more than an on-off switch. We'll push its release slider up to just over 800 milliseconds for a bit more tail out when the notes are released. That wouldn't make a bad bass sound, so let's work toward that end. Thanks to the envelope generator, the amplitude of the patch now has some added interest. On many synths, amplitude and filter share a single envelope, but we needn't limit our patch in this way. So we'll add another envelope generator module and move it to the left of the filter. We'll run a cable from the CV source's gate down to the new envelope generator's gate in jack. Next, we'll patch the envelope generator's positive output to the filter's Freq Mod 1 jack. Next, we'll reduce the filter's cutoff to around 622 Hz. Up next to the filter's Freq Mod 1 jack, there's a knob for controlling the amount of modulation to be applied. We'll turn that knob up to around 90%. Now, when we play a note, the envelope opens the filter. We'll turn the envelope sustain all the way down, and the decay and release both up to around 800 milliseconds. Let's push the filter's resonance up to around 28%. This gives our sound a bit of that classic 4-pole squelch. It's shaping up to be a decent bass sound, but it's still a bit lifeless. We'll connect a cable from the CV source's velocity jack down to the filter's Freq Mod 2 input and crank the amount fully clockwise. We'll bring the filter's cutoff down to around 30 Hz. Now, playing harder or softer on the keyboard will affect the filter's cutoff frequency, with softer notes sounding less intense. Finally, let's add some LFO action, though we'll not do it with a dedicated LFO module, but with a Mod Wheel Assistant module which has its own LFO built in. We'll patch the CV source's mod wheel jack to the mod wheel assistance mod wheel in jack. We'll route the assistance output to the filters freak mod 2 jack. Let's play a note and move the mod wheel. This is just the start of what you can do. Even the most basic filter offers plenty of room for further exploration.